Discovering your godly nature, knowing yourself to know God. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our weekly broadcast. Today we're diving deep into a powerful idea: know yourself, and you will know God. This phrase isn't just inspiring, it's a transformative principle found throughout the Bible and echoed in many spiritual traditions. Join me as we explore what it means to discover the godly nature within us, so that we can draw closer to understanding God himself. One created in God's image. Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." This foundational verse suggests that human beings reflect aspects of God's own nature. Implications for self-knowledge. To know ourselves as God's image bearers means recognizing that qualities like love, creativity, intelligence, compassion, and justice are reflections of God within us. When we cultivate these traits, we align ourselves more closely with God's character. Application. Practicing these divine qualities helps us experience God's presence through our own lives, fostering a deeper understanding of him as we embody aspects of his character. Reflection. When I first learned that I was made in the image of God, it felt abstract. But over time, as I noticed the small ways I could offer kindness or moments of creativity that seemed to come from nowhere, I began to understand. These qualities aren't just part of my personality. They're reflections of something much bigger, much holier. When you experience love, creativity, or compassion, pause and remember, this is God's nature shining through you. Reflection question. What qualities within yourself do you see as reflections of God's nature? How can you nurture these qualities more in your daily life? 2. The temple within, divine indwelling. 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you?" This verse reflects the profound idea that God's Spirit resides within us, suggesting a direct line of connection and relationship with him. Implications for self-knowledge. Realizing that God's Spirit dwells in us implies that to know ourselves, our true, unblemished selves, is to encounter the divine presence. This encourages us to look inward, allowing us to see that the same Spirit that breathed life into creation is part of our own being. Application. Engaging in meditation, prayer, and inner reflection invites us to commune with the divine presence within. Through these practices, we experience God personally and know him as he operates within us. Reflection. Imagine that the same Spirit that spoke stars into existence, that breathed life into all of creation, resides within you. This isn't just a metaphor, it's a holy reality. To know ourselves is to uncover a sacred connection, a divine indwelling. When we take the time to turn inward, we're not just finding ourselves, we're encountering the presence of God. Reflection question. What practices help you feel connected to the divine presence within you? Are there ways you can incorporate more moments of stillness and reflection into your routine? 3. The fruits of the Spirit, reflecting God's nature. Galatians 5:22-23 lists the fruits of the Spirit as love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. These qualities mirror God's essence and provide us with a tangible path to embody divine attributes. Implications for self-knowledge. Cultivating these qualities within ourselves not only brings us closer to God's nature, but also reveals the parts of us that align with his will. When we live in alignment with these virtues, we become more aware of God's work in our lives. Application. By consciously nurturing these qualities, we grow in spiritual maturity and embody a godly nature that reflects his character to the world, effectively acting as his representatives on earth. Reflection question. Which of the fruits of the Spirit do you feel drawn to develop more deeply? What small actions could you take to embody this quality today? 4. The Golden Rule and Divine Love. Jesus teaches in Matthew 22:37-39 that the greatest commandments are to love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. This teaching is not just moral but reflective of God's own relational and compassionate nature. Implications for self-knowledge. To love God and others, we must understand our capacity for love, empathy, and forgiveness, qualities that come from God. These qualities are not only God-given, but are intrinsic aspects of our identity as beings created in his image. Application. Practicing this form of divine love, especially towards those who challenge us, expands our hearts and deepens our experience of God. We become a living mirror of God's unconditional love, a core part of knowing and experiencing God's nature in action. Reflection question. How can you extend more compassion and empathy toward those around you? Is there someone in your life who might benefit from a gesture of forgiveness or understanding? Spiritual renewal and transformation, becoming Christ-like. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This verse speaks to a deep inner transformation that reflects a return to the divine image within us. Implications for self-knowledge. Renewing our minds, aligning our thoughts, attitudes, and actions with God's values, restores the divine image within us. In doing so, we experience what it means to live a God-centered life and embody God's will. Application. Practicing mindfulness of our thoughts and behaviors and letting go of negative patterns helps us undergo a spiritual transformation that reveals our godly potential. This journey of renewal brings us closer to understanding the kind of person God created us to be. Reflection question: what thoughts or behaviors could you release to allow for more spiritual growth? How might you embrace God's values more fully in your daily decisions? 6. The light within, Christ as our example. John 1:4-5 describes Jesus as the light of all mankind, and Matthew 5:14 calls us the light of the world. Christ, as the ultimate example of God's nature, illuminates our path to self-understanding and divine reflection. Implications for self-knowledge. Christ's example shows us what it means to live fully aligned with God's nature, inviting us to seek the light of Christ within ourselves. In understanding and reflecting this light, we come to know God more fully. Application. Christ's light shines through us when we choose kindness over judgment, patience over frustration, generosity over self-interest. Simple acts, like listening to someone who feels unheard, offering help to a neighbor, or forgiving a small grievance, are ways we bring Christ's light into the world. Every time we act with love and humility, we become mirrors of that divine light, allowing others to catch a glimpse of God through us. Reflection question: in what ways can you embody Christ's light today? Are there specific acts of kindness, patience, or generosity that could help you reflect God's love in the world? 7. Humility and divine mystery. In Philippians 2:5-8, Paul describes Jesus' humility, noting that he made himself nothing and took on the form of a servant. Jesus' humility is central to understanding divine nature, reminding us that God's greatness is often expressed through humility and love. Implications for self-knowledge. True self-knowledge requires humility, as we confront both our strengths and our limitations. This humility opens us to God's greatness, helping us see our dependence on Him and the mystery of His divine plan. Application. Practicing humility allows us to know ourselves more honestly and with a clearer perspective of God's role in our lives. It draws us closer to Him, as we realize that in our humility, His strength and wisdom shine through us. Reflection question: where in your life might practicing humility open you to greater wisdom or compassion? How can recognizing your limitations help you see God's strength more clearly? Conclusion: knowing God by knowing ourselves. The Bible teaches that our godly nature is both a gift and a calling. We're invited to cultivate the divine within by embracing virtues like love, humility, patience, and compassion, all of which mirror God's own character. This journey of self-knowledge is not merely about self-fulfillment. It's a path to a deeper, living relationship with God. As we know ourselves, we recognize the divine threads within, and through these, we come to know God, not as a distant creator, but as an intimate, living presence, one who guides us, shapes us, and dwells within. Thank you for joining me today. If this message resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might also find it meaningful. Together, let's continue exploring these truths and growing closer to God. Until next time, remember, knowing yourself is a step toward knowing the divine. God bless.
To know myself is to see your face, in the quiet places I find your grace. Created in your image, molded by your hands, a spark of the divine within me stands. Created in your image, molded by your hands, a spark of the divine within me stands. In every act of kindness, moments pure and true, I find a glimpse of heaven, a glimpse of you. Oh, let me be your mirror, your holy light. In love and in humility, I come alive. Through every part of me, let your spirit shine. To know myself is to know the divine. A temple of the Spirit, you dwell within my soul. The breath of life, the voice that makes me whole. In silence I can hear you, in stillness I'm renewed. Every gentle whisper draws me closer to the truth. Building love, joy, and patience, the fruits of your embrace, that grow within the heart that seeks your face. From every humble act to each forgiving glance, I find your spirit moving, a holy dance. Oh, let me be your mirror, your holy light. In love and in humility, I come alive. Through every part of me, let your spirit shine. To know myself is to know the divine. In every limitation, I find your strength and grace. A servant's heart reminds me of my place. With Christ as my example, a life for